Blood, Fire and Rainwater. I'm Jack Rainwater, and I play guitar and vocals. This is Tony Dolly. What do you do, Tony?
I play drums and percussion and do the flying monkey work.
Flying monkey work and background vocals as well.
Okay.
And we've just finished a new record called Don't Hoodoo Me, and it's coming out with. I can point up right and say with Redact Records, they've helped us with every step of the process, which
Well,
is good.
who is Redact Records, by
It's
the way?
these guys over here that you can't see on the camera.
But what do they do in
They're
the background?
behind the camera people.
Oh, do they have earpieces?
Act like they're not
Oh,
there.
okay.
We started out, well, I had a solo project, and Tony was having a patch in his life, and I said, hey, Tony, why don't you just come and play some shows with me? So we didn't get much practice in or anything. Tony grabbed an old plywood box that a friend of mine made and came out and played cajon for me. Then we started practicing it at the Luminarium, which was a lot of fun. What was our first practice? Maybe our second practice. The proprietress of the Luminarium, she came in and said the Luminarium's being, what'd she say? It's being baptized in blood, fire, and rainwater.
Yeah, actually, she had it backwards. It was the Luminarium is being baptized in fire, blood, and rainwater. Remember the church lady or whatever that put us on the magazine?
The church lady.
Yeah.
Put us on the magazine.
Yeah. she was like had the coolest band names in the local area.
Right. It was. You guys made my list of the coolest band names, and I was like, well, it's press is press. I'll take it. And that's how we got our name, Blood, Fire, and Rainwater. Like, that sticks. We like that. So, I kind of had reservations about putting my own name in the band, but not that many reservations.
So, other than your Revelations-based band name that we explained, I love it. It's perfect. It's going to be so good. I'd like you guys to talk about your style and genre a little bit.
It's weird when we started out playing this project. I'm huge influenced by Delta blues, and the solo thing was Delta blues too. And I can't really claim that, but I really thought I really went into the project. It was started out with this thing. I really wanted to do this Chicago kind of style, early Chicago, just out of the Delta kind of style of blues. It was electric, but still really, really kind of gritty and based in some of that Delta stuff. And I thought that that's what we were gonna do. And we played, and I was like, I only want to play hollow body guitars with one pickup in the neck, and I want to play slide, and there's a certain sound I want to do, and I just really want to be authentic in this one style. And I was thinking of like early Bo Diddley and early Howlin' Wolf and stuff like that. And that's really what I wanted. And then we started playing together, and it was cool. But I play fucking loud, and Tony plays fucking loud, and it turned out that it was kind of that, but it really wasn't that at all. And I couldn't keep the whole authentic Bo Diddley thing because that's just not who I am. I'm a fucking rock and roll guitar player.
Jack's got an addiction to guitars, He's sold his soul to the devil, whatever you want to say it, But the guy is married to a six string.
So it started out that we wanted to do Delta blues or early Chicago style blues. I really love R.L. Burnside a lot, and I like the stuff that was on Fat Possum a lot. This is really great stuff and super big influence to me as far as what I was trying to do. But then as we started making the record, my 70s big rock, arena rock influences started coming in more and more, and just the guitar styles that I love and grew up playing, the 70s hard rock stuff, and Jimmy Page and Alvin Lee and all those guys just kept rearing its ugly head. And at some point I'm like, well, I'm not really making this Chicago blues record. I'm making more like a London '69 hard rock blues record.
We went deep from the first song, but the second song we came out was with Dirty Walk, and I remember as soon as we hit that one, we backed up and said, oh shit, this isn't going to be a blues album. This is going to be a rock
Well,
record.
that song kind of developed itself in the session a little bit because I'd been playing it and I'd been kind of, and it just sort of exemplified what the sessions felt like for me. You know, initially I wanted to keep everything so stripped down too because I had you playing standing up, playing what's kick drum, snare, and just cymbals standing up. And the funny turn of events is when you fell down the fucking staircase of this very studio that we're sitting in right now with your drums in your hands and busted your ass.
Busted my ass
And-
to record fucking Dirty Walk.
Right, and then to record Dirty Walk, that's your, oh, look we're chronologically on time too. And so at that point, Tony's like, I'm all fucked up. I can't stand up and play anymore, Jack. If you want me to, and I was like, oh, great.
But the thing
That's
is
kind of
is
cool.
that I came back a week later, a little bit more focused, a week or two, whatever it was later, and I also was having problems with the headset. And Chris gave me.
Oh, I remember that.
He
yeah.
gave me some earbuds, and we put the earmuffs, the
Shooting goggles.
the shooting, yeah. And I was like, it was just like, you know, like someone parted the Red Seas, man. And it's like, oh, now let's fucking rock and roll.
That was a kick-ass session for you guys. I think you
Yeah,
guys had a break
and
on how to record.
I came out of that one, dude, and I said, motherfucker,
And the
I just
song came
recorded
out,
the
dude.
best fucking drum track I've ever fucking
When
recorded.
Chris called me up and goes, man, I edited the fuck out of Tony's drum. But it turned out okay. I really like the name of the song. It's that I think it really hits what I think that might be the song. I don't know. That might be the song that came the best song that came out of the session. But I really liked the Dirty Walk when we released the single, and I mean we named the single Dirty Walk. I think that was good, and I like the song. I mean, but I don't know, man. Don't New to Me really did.
Just every song, I remember as we were going through this process, we were just like, every song we did it, and we're like, oh, the next one, we can't be better than that one.
It
You know,
was though.
You take a bunch of guys with a lot of experience, you know, from different areas, and you put them together, and it's not going to just gel immediately.
I think it's
you gotta
probably
figure
a
each other
challenge for
out.
an engineer producer person to have. Is, you know, how am I going to get the best version of what these two old fuckers can do?
And that's why.
How can I take that thing
Yeah.
and make it into something that's actually
Yeah.
palpable and worth listening to? As a live unit, we're like really bombastic in your face, so that's not something that you really translate well in the studio because it's just one big wall of noise that nobody can really discern. So it's hard to get all the instrumentation to sound right.
But Chris wasn't going to let us compromise.
I don't think so.
No, Chris was pretty much, no, man, you guys, you know, I want you to do your best performance. And if you want to settle for this, I mean, that's okay, but, I mean, if you did this other, it would
He
probably
never
be a
let
lot
me
better.
settle for anything. He made me do takes on, what was it, Rounder? God, he made me fucking burn that song, just one Rounder. I was flat. I know I was flat, but man, I had to take that thing a million freaking times. You have no idea, Tony. I'm sure you do have an idea. I'm sure you went through it too. When we started working together, when we started working with Chris in the studio, that's when the record started to take shape. Because what we sounded like, what I thought we sounded like, isn't really what we sounded like. What we were doing was more, and I think that Chris and in the studio started to bring out a side of us that I wasn't really hearing when we were just playing live shows and rehearsing. And so as we started to hear it on tape, I realized that it was not really that 50s Chicago sound, but more like a heavier, kind of heavy blues rock sound. Strangely enough, Chris was able to capture my sound through a little tiny amp, and most people don't realize that a lot of the biggest rock records you've ever heard in your life are done on a little amp. But here at the studio, we were able to learn, you know, how to get that sound from, and that was the best thing. I was going to bring in my half stack, but the best thing, I got 6-watt amp with a 6-inch speaker, and it sounded amazing. And you suggested that we have sax in the song, and I was like, I want to do a classical guitar piece. I never did a classical guitar solo, so I did a classical guitar solo at the end of the song, and I was listening to it. I'm like, it just doesn't. It's really hard for it to kind of gel with what we were doing and how the song swung. And I was like, okay, here's one of the. Mark this down. One of the times when I took Tony's advice on the record, and I wasn't too stubborn about it until I'd actually wasted about 3 sessions recording one classical guitar solo, that it was a good idea that Chris play a sax solo on the song. Turns out it was a good song.
As us all three together, it was really a breakthrough moment because that's
It was cool.
Because I actually came in and I said, look, I got these little percussion things, I want to do this little thing, and I know Jack's going to hate it, he'll never let me do it, because Jack doesn't want to do it. I know, and you ended up letting me do it. It's just like, well, I'm going to try this.
That's not authentic.
I came in and I said, you know what, Chris, I'm just going to lay down all this stuff, okay, and then you can just edit the hell out of it, take what you want, and if you throw it all away, that's fine.
Yeah, you did like a couple of overdubs, drum overdubs,
yeah.
right? Like
And so I did this percussion stuff. I did brushes, and I did, I had a little mini China crash.
Yeah, you gotta hear this thing. It's got all kinds of drums on it.
And then, no, it was just a couple things. I used a hi-hat, a cymbal, and this little 18-inch China splash, and that's all it was. And I just double tracked on top of it, and it goes jaboop, and you know what? If you listen to it, in my head at least, it sounds like a crack of a whip, and you're saying, "Hey, Rounder, get the fuck out of here!" You know.
I did hear it. I wondered if that's what you were doing.
Oh, I forgot. I put the fish.
But you,
I had the fish in there too.
the fucking fish again.
I had the fish in there. The zit zit.
So,
and you hate. I know you're like.
I don't hate the fish. I love the fish. I love all those things. Don't get me wrong, man. I like it.
You Rounder, creeping up someone's back step. Hey Rounder, that life's gonna be your
There's some covers on the record, and I guess we did the Sunny Boy cover, which it's weird. I don't know really how I got the idea to want to play that tune, but I really like that vamp, which is kind of like in a lot of blues songs, that da-da-da-da-da thing, and I wanted to kind of make it more rock and bigger. So, and I've heard some other covers of it because it's been a pretty widely covered song, and covering Sunny Boy was kind of a challenge, I think, because he's known for being a harmonica player, and I keep thinking that I'll probably one of these days get put off the stage because I don't play harp in that song.
See, that's the purest.
But the truth of the matter
is,
I mean,
man.
Sonny Boy himself wasn't really all that he said he was. I mean,
Yeah.
to start with, I mean, it's like the whole blues thing is like everybody steals from each other. Sonny Boy actually borrowed the name he has. I mean, so I borrowed the song a little bit. But, well, no, but the thing is, that song I did it with Hard Money Saints. And I always thought, and it kind of had some swing to it in that band, but I let a friend of mine do the second guitar solo, and the song was more of a rockabilly song, but I always thought that song had room to swing. And as far as we're talking about having a big rock record, but really, I mean, Rounder swings. It's a jazz song.
Yeah, we play it a certain way live, which is not like the record that you did it with Hard Money Saints at all.
No, it's not like the record.
Because that's
our live version's not like.
Well,
this
how many
record
years
either.
have you been playing that song, Jack?
20 maybe.
20 years, okay. I remember going into it thinking I wanted to do some things, and then I hear what you did with it, because like he said, he pounded you for hours on that thing
There
to
were
get the
certain
right.
aspects of it, and that's something to address the way that we made this record. It's different than I've done before. Like we haven't done straight scratch tracks and then going in overdub, but I did the guitar parts.
Well, I had, but I did it on my own and stuff. That wasn't your way of recording.
Yeah.
But my preference as a band to record is to go in and play it live and stuff. And so that's what we did with Help Me, and that's the only song that was like
full
that.
live, yeah.
Yeah.
But the process was a little bit different because I was delivering you finished guitar tracks and vocals to a metronome or to a drum track.
And I played click the whole thing, you know.
Yeah, that's good though. I think that was good for us as far as training. We have a tendency to get into a race with one another on stage for tempo because you're a punk rock drummer and I'm a guitar player, and that's what we do. We push the beat. But let's talk about Howlin' Wolf, because this goes back to what the early Chicago days. So I really like, and that's a Sonny Boy thing, and I love Howlin' Wolf. Howlin' Wolf's probably my favorite early electric blues artist. I really like early Bo Diddley stuff too, which isn't supposed to be considered blues after he kind of became rock and roll. Right. But that first couple of things that Bo Diddley did were just definitely Chicago blues records.
Oh, yeah.
They were super good, and I feel like, but
you know me, man, I've always loved Bo Diddley, you know.
But No Place to Go was kind of ironic for me because I've been playing that song for a while, but playing the vamp and singing is hard to do. Yeah. It took me a while, and I didn't think we would ever be able to do it because playing that groove and singing is hard to do. So I sat around for a long time just banging on that thing in my living room, getting comfortable with playing that rhythm, because when you're in a two-piece band, you have to think that way. I mean, I can't just let the drums carry it when I'm playing the vocals. So
I remember you thought about it. You're like, I could certainly try.
I was going through a breakup at the time, though, so it was kind of like, so that song is kind of, it's ironic and funny because I don't really feel that way, but the song kind of, I never felt that way, but the song kind of came to me and I was like, oh, this is sort of fitting. This was just a personal kind of epiphany that I had during the concept of coming up with playing that song. Was like, it's not really the real thing, but it's sort of funny and ironic about where my life was at the time.
Honestly, I'm without saying any names, there's some people in your life that said that that you needed to go through a breakup and feel so that you could write some blues songs so that you could get unconstipated and pinch one off, man.
That's how
you were going through writer's block. Admit it.
I had writer's block.
Right?
I've always had writer's block though, and it's because I'm such a perfectionist about the way I write songs. Nothing I ever write is good enough, and I've never been able to give myself permission to just write everything that'll come out of me and pick the best stuff out of it. I always say like, nah, it's not good enough. It all hits the garbage before it ever makes it to a song for me.
But boy, when you pinch one off, man, you pinch one off, dude. I love your songwriting, dude.
I think that we could call that a classic Tony Dolly left-handed because I'd like to say, I'm Jack from Bloodfire and Rainwater. I'd just like to say, with this record, I really fucking pinched one off. You know what I mean? It's like, I really, she's Goyler, that's for damn sure. Anyway, so, Tony, you're such a fucking cute guy. Tony, you weren't on One Kind Favor, but you've done a couple things with it. It's really a dirgy song, and it goes all the way back to Blind Lemon Jefferson, which is deep into the blues, way prior to any of the psychedelic stuff or the Delta even. What we wound up doing was sometimes Chris would trick me in the studio, and I would be like goofing around on his dobro or something weird, and he'd hit and tape, and he does it to me, and stuff's rolling, and I'm just goofing off, having a good time or whatever, during a break or something, and he caught the little bit of this. He's like, I want to get that, so let's get it. So then we just, one session, instead of working on what we'd normally been doing, I just came in and we're like, we're gonna do this song, and so I just sat there and played it, and he just kind of hit record and said go, and I played it I don't know how many times until we found one that I didn't make too many bad mistakes in, and it was a one take thing. So and I really believe that's like the song, kind of the somber moment, and I like that side kind of. I don't like to blow my own horn, but I do like to pinch one off occasionally. And so, but I think that the song really the album kind of has this sort of role, and it hits a lot of different spots in the music. I gotta tell you, honestly, I have to give props to John Hammond, because I've heard that One Kind Favor is one of the most heavily covered songs. I didn't realize that. But I heard one version of it from somebody where they did the Church Bell Toll by chiming the guitar. There's a different version altogether, not really like ours at all, but that idea really hung out in my mind, that church bell. Did you ever hear that Church Bell Toll? And it was and Chris was able to capture that.
Ever hear them church bells toll? Did you ever hear those church bells toll?
Does bring me to another point I'd like to make about you, Tony.
Oh,
no, not. but we had a lot of like ups and downs, and we've covered a lot of territory. But we also, from the solo days, I had the song "I Love My Baby," which I did solo. It was really crazy, super fast, breakneck, reckless thing, and I wanted to do it a cappella. I'd always sung it, "I love my baby, love my baby," and I thought it was kind of funny as an a cappella song. So I got Chris to help with it, and I liked it and everything, and it was what I was looking for in a song. And then we were sitting there mixing the thing down. I'm like, you know what, Chris, I'm gonna have Tony bring down his whole sack of percussion instruments, and we're just gonna turn him loose. And I had no idea what I was getting myself into, first of all. And what wound up happening was it took that song, which is a song, it's such a grand song. The guy's story is so deep in the blues. I mean, his life, his wife, his girlfriend or whatever she is just a nightmare. And he's having just a really rough time with the thing. And he's a piece of shit, can't even, all he does is cry, you know what I mean? And then but here's this song. Here's the song. The melody and the percussion is so happy, and it's like just this weird juxtaposition. And throwing the percussion in only made the thing even sillier, because it's kind of a silly song to start with. Even though I like it, it's based on blues tradition and everything. It just, I feel like I'm at Weekend at Bernie's or something.
Well, at the end, the conga line cowbell at the end, put it over the top.
And really, I mean, is it the last? It's the last song on side one.
Me and Chris were having trouble breathing after we mixed that one. It was. And I remember you had to come and supervise because you knew that I was going to get crazy.
I didn't. I just wanted.
It was the only time you watched me session, man. The whole time.
I just wanted to see what was going on with that. I just wanted to be part of the excitement.
But you know what? It worked out great.
And it did get crazy, and it shows, I think, to a degree that we have a good sense of humor. And I mean, I don't take myself too seriously, that song, I think, if nothing in my whole career ever showed that I don't take myself too seriously, it's going to be "I Love My Baby."
Jack, high point of the record.
I have a couple of different pinnacle moments in the record for me. One of them is definitely was hearing "Making a Monster" get fleshed out and becoming a song. I'm really proud of that song. I think it's a melodic tune. Secondly, hearing the final mixes and hearing the songs completely laid out in the order that we decided they were going to go, and hearing it from side one of a record to side two of the record in its completion was probably the best moment, because I was able to look back at all the different stuff we did, and I remember every one of those notes really well and how we got to where we're at. But hearing them getting all the little babies lined up into one big family was the high point for me, I think.
Well, my first thing was just the first track was a big deal, because even though I've been, farting around with my own stuff for a long time, been a long time since I've been playing seriously. My chops weren't even there. I mean, and we were just kind of getting going, and so going into the studio and first playing Help Me live in the studio and stuff like that, I mean, that was a challenge. So that in itself was something. And then another defining moment probably after that was definitely Hoodoo.
Challenges for the record now, or challenges during this process?
Challenges. Well, hearing obviously was a challenge. I've got really bad hearing. A lot of people don't know that. I've had bad hearing most of my life. So.
I've always said you can hear, you just don't listen.
That's what my grandpa used to say, and it's true. And that's another part of my personality, but we don't need to get into that. But
I tease. I'm kidding. My big challenge is probably more above and beyond that wonky damn click track thing. Was I really have a hard time not thinking like a singer. So when I was doing augmentation leads in the thing, I always wanted to play where the vocals were supposed to go. Created a big challenge for Chris, because he always wanted me to play counterpoint to the vocals lead fills that I did. And there were times when I just couldn't get the feel for the lead. And it's funny because Chris does think that way because he's a saxophone player. So it's easy for him to think about that. But for me to find those good leads in between the vocals were impossible, because I kept wanting to spit out all the good shit where the vocals went, and I struggled with that the whole time. But fortunately, with today's technology, you can hear all of it in its splendor.
Explain, maybe go into a little bit of history, like you are affiliated with us now, and the advantages and differences, and what the involvement is.
So yeah, we're working with Redact Records, and I think right now I can't see it, but I think the logo's right behind us maybe. And so basically this thing all started out with my good friend Chris Haley. He's like, hey, come on over, check out my studio. Let's throw down some tracks. And so we recorded a few things, and we decided we'd make a single out of it. And then and so we released 3 tracks, and Chris and the label, they helped us get our stuff launched for the single, which is just a download. And then I was like, well, I really, let's just go ahead, and keep recording stuff. We were having a good time, and it was at that point that Chris and John came to me and said, well, we have our label that we're working on, and that we're the studio's part of it, there's there's production, and we want to throw down and help you guys out and help you put this thing out. And I thought that was super cool because nobody's ever fucking helped me at all, really. I mean, and most of the stuff that I've released I've had to do on my own, and I've worked with Splatterhouse and Patrick before, and he released products that we already made, and everything I've ever done I've pretty much paid for out of pocket, produced it myself, and shopped it to labels who I've had some help with occasionally from the labels in there, and but I've never had anybody step in and go, we have technology, we have skills, we want to help you do what you do better. And so having that kind of backing really has been helpful for me, thinking that we have somebody who's really going to kind of be in our corner rather than just to kind of throw out a self-release, a solo record, or self-release a record and go out and not have any support. It's been really nice to have somebody in your corner and to have the technology and the skill to operate that technology. Chris and John have the skill set, and the label's been very helpful for us to have as a kind of a support network, because I'm telling you, man, I don't really know a whole lot about that shit, especially in the digital age.
We can't do it all, man. You
Well,
got to have help in anything you do, man.
And I honestly wanted to build a studio at one point, and I know that you still do. But then I realized I'm not recording. I'm not a record label. I'm not a studio.
And that's great that you mentioned that, because all my talks with Chris and stuff about artist development and stuff, that is what they're about, man. They want everybody to take charge of their stuff. And
we are releasing this album
yeah.
on October 19th. And we're gonna have the guys from Redact Records there too. They'll be in house, and we're looking forward to seeing the boys out with us. And there might be a secret announcement involving their musicianship involved in this as well. But it's gonna be a lot of fun, and I look forward to what we've got coming in the future. There's gonna be a lot more video stuff coming out. So we got this record's coming out. We're having a local release here in Tacoma at the Valley.
The Peterson brothers, man.
Homies, and that's the thing about the releases. It's all homies. Our friends at Redact, who are actually in a band, are going to play. Chris and John and Casey are all going to come play with us, and we have some other old friends that are going to come and join us too.
That's right.
Stoned Evergreen Travelers, and a young artist named Hannah Blue, who we've helped along the way, and who's really become quite the singer-songwriter.
It's the future, towards the future.
Yeah, so we're hoping to have our vinyl ready for that, and if we don't, we're gonna have some very special pieces of vinyl for the few people who want them, and we're hoping to see this thing go on a more national level. After we release the record, we're gonna send out some other special little pieces of video love, and potentially
There'll be
something even bigger, yeah.
Secondary release parties too.
Yeah, we're gonna be out there. We're gonna have vinyl. We're gonna have the label out with some of their stuff too, and you're gonna get a chance to see a whole bunch of really cool, exciting stuff the night of the release, and hopefully shortly following after, and strangely leading up to, which I think this might do.
Words to express to fans, to anybody that you're involved with, anything that you want to give a shout to or anything?
We feel super fortunate, at least I feel super fortunate to play this music for anybody. That anybody would even give a shit or listen to this music makes me the happiest guy alive. Having somebody having somebody like Redact and Chris and John help us get this thing off the ground is really exciting for me as well. And I hope that I can't even show enough gratitude for the people that have come out to see us play, for the people that support us, our loved ones and our family members who actually allow us to go out and make fools of ourselves every weekend and have the good time that we have and do what we do.
Perfect. That's a wrap.